The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. This is episode 147, Fox and Phil Save Halloween. We are back on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show, and I don't believe it, but Halloween is but 6 weeks away.
Can you believe it?
I can't.
I mean, no, it crept up really quickly.
The summer burned by.
Yeah, this is one of the fastest moving summers I think I've ever experienced. It seems like it just started. And now we're 17th of September already.
Yeah, we're almost into autumn. Summer is nearly done. And it's funny, I thought this would be a slow-moving summer because we've pretty much been stuck inside since March.
Well, I think that, I could be wrong, but I think a lot of it is the days are they were just kind of blending together because, at least for me, because we were on lockdown for so long and people were quarantining and everything's just so crazy.
Right.
That it kind of just started blending together. At least, like I said, for me it did. I don't know about you.
It really was the same. You know, my wife's been working from home since March, and we didn't go on any of our summer trips that we usually do. We did, however, we did get to several museums, though. Museums seem to be the place to go this summer.
Oh, and yet you got to the Civil War ones, right?
Yeah, the Civil War Medical Museum down in Frederick, Maryland. That was a great deal of fun, and I hope to get their historian on the show to do some ghost stories in the future, but that was a great deal of fun finally. I love historical medicine. It's what I did when I was working at a couple of museums, especially with my background, and I had no idea this place existed, and then I saw it, I'm like, hun, we're going. And we went down on a Friday, down in Frederick, Maryland, which is just a beautiful, beautiful city, and we pretty much were the only ones at the museum that Friday.
Really?
Yeah, but we're back on episode 147, Fox and Phil Save Halloween. This is What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show. Find us on Para X Radio Friday nights at 9 o'clock. And go over and check out our website at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com because I have been doing it up.
Yeah, yes you have. You've been really revamping it.
I've learned so much in the last year, and I'm taking the time to sit down and really give the website a professional look. I've got the front page cleaned up. I have been going through our ratings to figure out the top 5 ghost story episodes, and I've got those set up, and you can find those at our website on the cover. Plus, and get this, I have started going through our ghost story archives. We have like 25 ghost stories up with audio and narrative components read by mostly David Walton, and I'm going through and cleaning those up and organizing them, cleaning up the type, cleaning up the graphics and things like that so it looks really professional. And so I hope our listeners will go and check out 5 years of ghost stories, and I haven't even begun to put them all up, and I'm getting there. And hopefully I'll have this all done in the next week or two, where you can also find links to our friends, plus every episode organized by a category. Instead of looking at 150 episodes and wondering what they're all about, you'll be able to page down and go, oh, these ones are on ghost stories. These are with authors. These are with filmmakers. Oh, these are the ones where Phil and Fox just sort of go on for hours.
Those are the best kind, though. Those are the best kind.
We've been doing interviews all summer. We interviewed Grady Hendrix and Scott Kenmore.
Daniel Krause. I'm reading his book, Blood Sugar, right now. I'll get to that in a minute, though, but it's good.
I went through the ratings, and I'm doing top 5 lists on the different topics. And would you like to know what our top 5 rated ghost story episodes are?
Absolutely.
I bet you can guess who the guest was on the first one.
Was it Katrina Weidman?
It sure was.
Okay, there you go.
She is beloved. I gotta talk to Kat and ask her if she wants to come back on. I'm still sort of setting up the scheduling for the first couple of episodes for Halloween. I do know that I've spoken to Lisa Morton, who is president of the Horror Writers Association, and she wrote a book on seances that is coming out, and I thought she would be great to have on the show, and she wants to come on. Plus, Dacre Stoker, ancestor to Bram Stoker, expert in vampires, wants to come on in October, so already we have 2 amazing guests.
That's amazing, and I know who he is. Didn't he write a sequel to Dracula?
He did. He will be on. So, our top 5 rated ghost story episodes. The first one was episode 109, Katrina Weidman. Number 2 was episode 136, Hell House of Washington State. That was with Keith Linder, remember?
Right, that was a great one.
He's a great storyteller, a nice author, and he had some terrifying things happen to his condo. Number 3, and this is interesting, this is the one that I recorded after we got to Lancaster, when my wife and I moved out here, and I discovered that we were living on a Native American burial ground where some Conestoga natives were massacred and buried right underneath this parking lot here on Duke Street, plus this apartment. And that one was called I Moved on Top of a Freaking Native Burial Ground in Lancaster. That's number 3. Number 4, and this is not unexpected, The Haunting of Heather Taddy, who was on Paranormal State with Katrina Weidman.
Yeah, I was going to actually guess her as being at least in one of these.
And then number 5, and I'm so glad this made it, Halloween at the Beat. We were in Cape May. We did the 2-hour special. Run around.
That was last year.
We collected all those ghost stories. We run around in Cape May and spoke to the locals and got all their ghost stories and then put them on. And we performed that episode live from the Marquis de Lafayette Hotel in Cape May, New Jersey, in a couple weeks from now. It was just such a wonderful trip.
Yeah, that was fun. I had a good time.
Right.
And we sat in that lobby and then our mics cut out and good stuff.
Well, when I got here, I wasn't really looking for ghosts. We moved into this nice little apartment. It's over a garage. We only share the building with one other person. We're off Duke Street, behind the main building where we live in Lancaster, off Duke Street. And it turns out that there's some paranormal activity here. Now, I do laundry in the basement under the main building on Duke Street, and I would be doing laundry. I'd have my headphones in, and every once in a while I would see someone coming down the stairs from the corner of my eye, and even hear the footfalls with my headphones were on. I'd turn over to see who was coming down the laundry room, and nobody would be there.
Yeah, that sounds creepy.
A few months later, somebody was coming up the steps in my building, following me up to the second floor landing, and when I turned around to see if it was like my neighbor coming up to ask me a question, again, nobody was there.
Oh, wow. And what did this person look like?
I didn't really catch their face. It definitely looked like a man, but from the corner of my eye, it looked like a shadow. Well, I have an update for you.
What's that?
2 weeks ago, I was sitting in bed, I was working on something, and I'd fallen asleep, and everything was normal in my bed. I had all the pillows underneath my head. I needed to, my back and my neck start to hurt. And when I woke up, the main pillow under my head and the one underneath of it was perfectly placed on the other side of the bed where my wife usually sleeps. It wasn't half off my head or pushed off. I didn't move it in my sleep. I only slept for like 40 minutes. My wife never came, and she obviously never moved the pillow out from under my head. I would definitely wake up for that. But when I woke up from my nap, my neck was hurting, and when I lifted up, I realized I only had one pillow under my head, and both pillows were firmly placed on my wife's side of the bed.
Yeah, that's hard to explain. I mean, how do you explain that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I don't know, maybe I did it in my sleep or something, but I really doubt I would have woken up moved the pillows over to that side of the bed,
Right.
and then gone back to sleep on this one pillow, waking up with my neck aching.
Yeah, I don't think you wouldn't do that. No.
I don't think so, but it was
No.
really weird, and I tried to tell my wife about it, and I said, I don't know what happened. Maybe I just did it in my sleep. Maybe I didn't notice that I didn't have the pillows behind my head. Who knows? And she said, well, it can't be ghosts. And she's usually really good about that. And I said, well, why not? And she said, because then we'd have to move tomorrow.
So just agree with her and say you're right. It's not ghosts.
Yeah, so that's what...
Unless you want to move, then say it was.
I do want to move, but can't just yet.
Right.
But we are back on episode 147, Fox and Phil Save Halloween. It's great to be back. I'm really enjoying this episode, and I am looking forward to Halloween. And we are going to play our audience a ghost story now. This was sent into the show, and please send your ghost stories in. You can find links for that at our website at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com. This was recorded by our beloved English folk singer David Walton. This was the Ouija Story in the Summer of Hell, submitted to the show by one Nina Terrible. And we'll play that ghost story for you now on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show.
This is Heather Taddy from Paranormal State and Alien Highway, and you are listening to Philly and Foxy on What Are You Afraid of?
The Ouija Story in the Summer of Hell. Submitted by Nina Terrible and read by David Walton. It was the summer of '96, or better referred to as the Summer of Hell. I can't help but to blame myself. After all, I've watched plenty of horror movies to know all the basic rules, but even then I ignored the most important one. I was young and curious, so attracted to anything horror. I played with the spirit board by myself, and if that wasn't enough, I had chanted spells that I found in a spell book written in another language. Frustrated at what I thought was a complete fail, since nothing had happened, I continued on with this dangerous combo. A few days had passed and things began to change. I started hearing strange sounds. For each night that went by, the evil entity became more aggressive. Some call it sleep paralysis, but I know it was an evil force holding me captive. I can hear the growling in my ear, and the voices as it whispers to me, calling out my name. I was terrified. I fought so hard to have just enough courage to open my eyes, and then fear would strike again when I would witness with my own eyes a hooded shadow figure by my bed, and shadow figures darting in and out of the wall while calling my name. It was getting worse. I can now feel it touching me. It actually touched my foot. It wouldn't let me sleep, and it was as if it was getting stronger. I was so scared, and knowing it was my fault, I didn't want to tell anyone, especially my father. All my family had warned me about tampering with spirit boards. I no longer felt safe in my own home, and every chance I got, I tried to go somewhere, hoping that this thing wouldn't follow me. I distinctly remember several occasions where the evil had followed me. My aunt has asked me to stay with her and her family during the week to babysit my little cousin while she worked. I had fallen asleep. Something had disturbed my sleep. I opened my eyes to the light above me flickering on and off. I immediately left the bedroom and fell asleep on the couch for the rest of the night. Another night, I'd experienced the same exact thing, but this time, as I left the room, I heard whispering coming from my cousin's bedroom, which was located right next to the living room. Confused and terrified, I started to wonder if it was my cousin that I had been babysitting, only to find out later that day he was sleeping in his parents' room the entire night. I knew I had to dispose of the board, and when I did, I heard a voice later that night say,
"I will come back."
Eventually we moved and I began feeling safe again. The activity still happens from time to time. I realised later that this thing wasn't a part of the house. I summoned it and it is attached to me. I thought I was losing my mind until one day my older cousin had visited. She also is a believer who has had her own personal experiences. We were exchanging stories of strange events, and she said that she distinctly heard heavy breathing coming from upstairs. We both looked at each other, and she noticed my dog turn towards the direction of the stairs. She heard it too. My cousin had lived there prior to me, and stated that she's never heard that during her time of residency there.
I am horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I am author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And we are going to save Halloween 2020.
This Halloween, our community has changed due to the danger of COVID-19.
We must make sacrifices to protect ourselves, our loved ones, and each other, especially the senior and vulnerable members of our community.
But this doesn't mean we cancel Halloween. In fact, we need to celebrate Halloween as a distraction, an expression of our fears, to give ourselves and our children a sense of normalcy.
So this Halloween, we ask that you find alternatives to trick-or-treating, respect social distancing at public events, wear masks below masks, and wash your hands.
Serial killers and monsters, please maintain a distance of 6 feet when chasing happy teenagers at campgrounds or in abandoned factories.
And don't give up. Find new ways of performing beloved traditions like trick-or-treating on Skype, or enjoying your favorite horror films with friends through an online watching party, or when summoning demonic spirits, make sure the hell dimension you're summoning from has observed COVID-19 prevention guidelines, such as social distancing during cult ceremonies.
This is
Fox, and we wish you a safe and non-contagious Halloween.
Demons, vampires, werewolves, skinwalkers, all of this and more, Sunday nights at midnight on the Staring Into the Abyss radio show. Come, get lost with us.
We're back on episode 147.
We are back.
We are back. Getting ready for Halloween and looking forward to Halloween in the time of COVID, which we will get into during this witty banter. Ouija boards are scary things, don't you think?
Yes, they really are. I've never messed with them. I honestly never have.
When I was a kid, we would. But it does seem like Ouija boards get blamed for opening portals and things like that, and inviting haunted spirits in. Though I don't know if it's so much the board itself, or just your willingness to connect and speak to a spirit, which can go really bad. It's like a stranger on the street. You wouldn't go out to the street, see someone walking along that you don't know, and go, "Hey, you want to come in and hang out and chat with me for a while?" We're getting ready to celebrate Halloween in 2020, and it's an unusual Halloween this year. I have to admit, I was feeling kind of low about it because it's going to be very different. It's the kind of Halloween we never think was going to happen, because COVID did happen in March, and now as a nation and a planet, we are dealing with it, and we have to take precautions.
Yeah, we do. In March, when this thing hit, I thought by Halloween we'd be out of the woods by then, but that's not the case.
But Halloween is coming up, and at first people were talking about canceling Halloween, and we don't have to cancel it.
No, absolutely not.
We just have to adapt. And you know what? I think it's going to make us appreciate it more. Halloween. I was reading some medical reports today, and families have to ask themselves, what sort of degree of risk are you comfortable with? And of course, be aware of your county and state and what the COVID numbers are like. And obviously, we can't do Halloween like we did before. And some of the ideas were, if you're going to hand out candy, designate one person to do it, make sure their hands are washed, make sure they're masked, that they have a sizable distance between them and the kids, or, people who are coming up to the door, and don't just stick a bowl of candy out there, because then you've got 100 kids reaching in that you don't know. Yeah, and this stuff it's spread through droplets. Mm-hmm. So if it's on their hands, it's in the bowl, and it's being spread. So one person hands out the candy, perhaps with a glove on, and that'll help keep it safe.
Yeah, definitely a glove. And I mean, if I do it, I'm going to wear gloves when I do it, because I have them. So, I actually don't walk into a store. I mean, I have many people that I see in stores, they don't do this. I've seen a couple, but I'm one of the only ones that actually walks around with gloves on in a store or a market or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have people, nobody looks at me weird or anything, but if you're pushing a cart or whatnot, what are you supposed to do? You got your hands all over it.
I've been asking people for ideas on how we can do Halloween, and you were just talking about one before we started the show that sounded interesting.
The two, going down this gentleman's railing. I've seen a few of them online. You posted one of a guy in Ohio who came up with this idea where he attached that, I guess it's PVC piping, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
To his railing, and you just put the candy at the top, and it just slides down and comes out the chute at the bottom, and the kids can just put their hands on it, whoop, and there it goes.
Excellent. I like that a lot.
I like that idea too, but I was thinking about it. He might have a little trouble enforcing it, because the kids probably won't see it and they won't know what it is, and they might just walk right past it. He's going to really have to stand up there and be like, wait, hold on.
Maybe put up a sign.
He's going to have to post something, because he's going to be constantly saying, don't go up the steps, just wait down there, I'm going to put the candy down, down the chute. So,
and now John Keast posted on my Facebook page. He says, I will have a candy chute as well, probably decked out as a long creature arm.
Nice.
I like that. Yeah.
That is cool.
Now, I was wondering if malls could maybe arrange and schedule a Halloween candy week. And of course, you'll remember that a lot of kids, instead of walking around their neighborhoods, they're going to malls like on the previous Saturday, walking from store to store, and the various people in the stores hand out candy, and they go trick-or-treat in the mall, and there's a big event that goes on in music and Halloween characters. We were at the King of Prussia Mall. There's 2 times over at the comic book shop over there during Halloween.
Yeah, we were. We did the show from there.
We did. Now, if the mall could schedule it so that there was a limited amount of kids that come in every time, and they social distanced, like we do now, and did it all week, where so many kids signed up and then showed up that day for between 2 and 4 and then 4 and 6, I think maybe we could keep it safe.
I think that's very possible.
Right.
Limit the amount of kids in there. I don't know if they would be able to do it outside or not in the parking lot or whatnot, but...
See, you bring that up, and that's something I've been hearing a lot about. Something called parking Trunkoween, or trunk-or-treating, which is something that Laura Robert put on my Facebook page, and something that I've been reading about, is that in more rural areas, they're going to do trunk-or-treating, which is a gathering of a bunch of families in a parking lot, and then going from car to car with the windows open, but the door between them, to gather treats. Or you could even, she was saying, you could even toss candy out of an open window, though,
Yeah.
But still, there could be a bit of a barrier there, and being outside is really important, where the air's not recycled.
Right, exactly. That's very important.
We've been talking about the possibility of going to some of these haunted houses that we go to every year, and they're doing limited people on the grounds, but a lot of it is outdoor, or at least in ventilated areas. So it's possible to maybe go to some of the Halloween haunted houses, do the outdoors thing. Maybe not so much the hayride. I know they're talking about doing drive-by haunting, where you drive your car.
Yeah, the hayride, it might be tricky, because there's so many people packed into that cart. I don't know if I would do something like that. Corn maze.
Yeah.
Corn maze.
There you go. As long as they make sure they're dividing people and waiting a couple minutes for them to go in and have them keep moving. I think if it's outside, I think we can do this.
Yeah, I agree.
Of course,
I think we can.
David P. Schlosser said, have them stay on the sidewalk and you fire candy at them with a slingshot. He said, and then, I mean their bags. Fire them at their bags, not at the kids.
Right. Yeah.
He seems
Just clarify that, right?
He seems like a curmudgeon. He really does, David.
A haunted forest would be probably
Okay.
pretty cool.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like a haunted woods, a haunted
Mhm.
forest, because you're all outside in the trees and you got all the oxygen around you. You know,
Mhm.
it's not recycled.
Right.
I think it would be a nice touch to have everyone spread out. They're
Right.
not really, shoulder to shoulder. The haunted house, I mean, yeah, you can send people, but yeah, it's going to be enclosed inside the hayride.
hmm
And I mean, they're going to. How do you separate people 6 feet apart in a hayride? The hayrides aren't that big.
You can't do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But they're saying don't go in groups of kids. Go in like small families. So no big groups of kids walking up and down in the house.
Right.
Now, Crystal Judy, who is the significant other to Michelle Garrett, who's a good friend and a friend to the show, says that they're going to be doing social distancing. It's going to be an outdoor birthday Halloween costume party for their oldest on Halloween. Bring your own seats, individual drinks and snacks placed in pretty, I like that, pretty big pre-packaged Halloween trick-or-treat bag composed with candy and other things that they would get from going door to door. You give them to each kid individually, and you have to RSVP. And depending on how many decorate for the event, they might partake in a community walk and admire decorations from afar. I was also thinking like a Skype-a-ween.
Yeah.
You arrange
Yeah.
it with friends and family. You set up a call sheet to schedule the times. And then your kids dress up in their outfits because they get to show them off. And they call Nana, they call Pop-Up, they call Aunt Judy, they call Uncle Freddy the Monster, and, Uncle Freddy the Monster, I just made that up. And every time they show up their costume, now they do sell bags of assorted candy, different kinds. And so every time they show up their costume, their parents puts a piece of candy in their bag, and the kids get to show off their costumes, they get candy, the family's involved, and you could trick or treat from people around the world.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think Skype-a-ween could really work, and it's what I suggest in case you don't want to take the chance of going out. And I've also been seeing things about Halloween parades where you have people standing by to hand out candy with masks on, and the kids are like 6 feet apart, walking with adults, and you do a Halloween parade down the street, or a reverse Halloween. The kids are in the car, and they drive by the sidewalk, pull up, show up their Halloween outfits, and somebody outside gives them a piece of candy through the car window using the car as a barrier.
Nice. I like that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's perfect. You know what else I thought of too? One of the grabbers. There's little grabber extenders.
That's a
you
thought.
Pick up pre-made bags because you can't really pick up candy with those things.
Right.
The little gripper things, and then so like bags, and then just pick up the bag, and then they extend about 4 feet. You can buy, and if you 4 or 5 feet, depending on what kind you get,
Yeah.
you can keep that distance there.
Right.
As far as handing out candy goes, if you're doing it in person, that's one way to do it. Also, making them up, making bags up when you see kids coming, putting them on a tray, and then stepping back and letting them pick up their packages themselves.
That's a thought, stepping back and letting them just go in between you and the...
I'm going to do these things probably if I decide to give out candy, which I probably am. I'm planning on it. So I'm going to definitely take these precautions and implement some of these strategies.
Being outside is really important. I think that's what the key to all of these things are, is being outside or having a car door between you. But Halloween can go on, and it really needs to go on. We need a sense to celebrate the time. We need to celebrate Samhain. We need to celebrate the turning of the year. And we need a sense of closure from this summer.
Yeah, we do. Halloween has always been that closure, even not even just the day itself, but the season.
Right.
And I'm starting to get into it, and just like we were talking about, I'm starting to really get in that spirit. Are you planning on doing anything soon, like decorating or anything like that?
I really do plan to decorate soon. In fact, it's been such a busy couple of weeks, and I'm just getting caught up with everything, but I intend to clean on tomorrow or Monday, depending how my physical strength. It's a bit of an ordeal for me, but once I clean, we're planning to go get some new Halloween decorations, and I have a box of our old ones, and yes, I plan to decorate in the next few days, and I'm hoping to bake some pumpkin scones.
Nice.
Which would be a lot of fun. And I'm going to start my horror movie ghost story reading-a-thon, and I'm setting up Hulu so I can watch my favorite Halloween show that I watch every year at this time, Angel, the vampire with a soul.
Yes. Have you done anything Halloween related yet? I got my first pumpkin spice latte yesterday of the season. Yeah, my first one. And I also bought a pumpkin, and it's out front on the railing. So I got a pumpkin out there now. And I hung up some Halloween lights, some orange string lights around the window, some orange string lights. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
I'm planning to start now. I think doing this first episode 146, Fox and Phil Save Halloween, was sort of my kickoff for the Halloween season, and I'm going to start this weekend. And there's a place up here called Cherry Hill Farms, which does pumpkins, and it's an apple orchard, and you can go and pick your own apples, and I want to go pick my own apples and then bake some things with them.
You should post your results.
I plan to. In fact, over at the website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com, I have a page up there with some of my favorite Halloween recipes, including my pumpkin scones and our, oh God, Allison loves this, our caramel apple sangria.
Ooh, oh, wow.
This is a great recipe. It's apple cider, of course, and hard cider can go into it. It's caramel vodka.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Plus a white wine like a Pinot Grigio. Plus apple slices, cinnamon sticks go in the cup. And it's so incredibly good. I used to make it for my D&D games. And... of course, by the time we were done, we wouldn't be able to roll dice anymore. But Al, I think we're going to make some of it up.
I'm going to have to look up that recipe because I'm going to have to make this because it sounds just phenomenal.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's really tasty and it's dangerous. You're drinking
Creeps up.
It tastes like a caramel apple. Wow. But we've been doing Dungeons and Dragons every week now. I've been playing on Roll20, and it's been an amazing experience for me. And I'm starting my Ravenloft adventure in 2 weeks. Ravenloft is the gothic horror world of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's all based on horror themes and tropes and characters. So that's something else I will be doing to celebrate Halloween, is running my characters and my friends through this gothic horror world. And I have this cool one I'm writing up about a clown that scares a little girl every night, set in a German-like domain called Saxony. We'll be right back with some clown news.
Hello folks, I've uploaded a compilation of 10 songs with a ghostly theme that have been specifically recorded for various episodes of What Are You Afraid Of Podcast.com. Go to Bandcamp and search for Brendan Shawland. The album is called The Ghostly Brendan Shawland. You can listen to them for free or download them for a modest fee as a complete album or as individual songs. Thank you.
Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Michelle.
And this is Scott from The Dead Zone, Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard.
your source for everything paranormal. Para-X.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit. The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
We're back, and we're getting ready to celebrate Halloween. And I gotta tell you, Phil, you're probably my favorite person to hang out with on Halloween.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Because you love it as much as I do.
Oh, I love it.
You really love it as much as I do. Now, Allison loves it, but she's gotten much more into holidays since I've sort of come into her life.
Nice.
It was something she really didn't do that much of before. Her family's not really into holidays. But I've sort of showed her how to live life deeply and how to celebrate the passing of time. So she might begrudge it, because that's what she does. She's a curmudgeon. But secretly inside, she'll be excited. We're still talking about trying to get to Cape May, or maybe even go up to the Hudson Valley, safely, of course, respecting everybody and taking care of ourselves. So we're still maybe talking about going somewhere for a few days before it gets too cold out.
Hudson Valley would be nice.
Yeah, we're talking about it. We're going to see what the weather's going to be like. We miss the ocean, but that ship has sailed, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, but, so, we'll see.
You know what I was surprised at, though? Last October, when we were down in Cape May, I was surprised at how much they actually embrace Halloween.
They love it.
I was seeing things everywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, Cape May is a wonderful shore town. It stays open all year, and they celebrate a lot of Halloween events down there, so it was really a lot of fun to go down and see it. By the way, that song we just played was There's a Monster Under the Bed by Guitar Wizards of the Future, shared with a Creative Commons license. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Guitar Wizards of the Future. So, guess what, Phil? This is going to blow your mind. Guess what I've got for you?
I'm going to take a guess. Clown news?
Clown news. Cue that jingle.
Clown news.
I love that jingle. Bill loves
I love that.
Bill
I
loves
love
that
that
jingle. Yeah,
Bill does. Yeah,
he
does. It's a great jingle.
He mimics it. He goes, clown news. It's just me because we don't have a budget. Get this. This is Clown News on episode 147, Fox and Phil Save Halloween. Phil, you're not going to believe it. They were gone. They vanished. The fad was over. But according to TikTok, the clowns are back.
Uh-oh. I'm afraid to ask.
TikTok, of course, is a somewhat controversial new sort of YouTube where people put up small videos of themselves doing things like dancing and in this case, people say they are seeing clowns in the streets all over the country. They're back.
They're back.
The clowns are back.
So they're seeing them.
They're seeing them all over. TikTok had a video showing killer clown sightings in the United States where people have been sending them in. And apparently they're picking up killer clowns showing up in forests, behind houses, walking down the streets with machetes. And you can go over to TikTok. I'll put up a link on the website if it actually exists. And killer clowns are back in video. They were really popular in 2016. And now they're showing, it's like COVID and killer clowns. Could there be a connection?
Yeah, it could be. That's very possible.
TikTok has a page called Killer Clown Sightings 2020. It's got 1.4 million followers, and the page has posted multiple videos that show killer clowns showing up.
Nice. That's intriguing and horrifying at the same time.
Now, they had this video of this clown walking down a darkened road that was shot by somebody walking by on their phone and didn't expect it, and it's very popular. And we have videos showing clowns from like Michigan, Oregon, Pennsylvania, California, and you can go over to TikTok and check it out. The killer clowns are back.
Nice. TikTok clowns, wonderful.
TikTok clowns. Now, our dear friend Ceiling Cat, Barbara Duncan, over at the Paranormal View on Parax Radio, sent me a link a few weeks ago. She is always looking for clown news, dear Barbara, and she sent me this link for something called Circa, the Clandestine Insurgent Rebel Clown Army.
Oh,
This is a real thing.
it's a real thing. Okay.
This is a real thing. It was formed in 2003 by activists John Jordan, L.M. Bogad, Jen Varson, Matt Trevelyan. It was formed because George W. Bush went over to the UK in 2003, and they wanted to demonstrate against his invasion of Iraq. And they did it because clowns are tricksters. They're chaos agents. They're basically there to remind people not to take themselves so seriously and to sort of diffuse stressful confrontations and stressful protests by showing up in clown making. These people are professionals.
Right. Wow.
They say they're reclaiming the art of rebel clowning. Its combatants don't pretend to be clowns. They are clowns. Real, trained clowns.
Is that kind of like the people that believe they're vampires?
We've actually spoken to some of them.
Yeah. They really think that they're vampires.
They're secretly clowns who are pretending to be people.
Yeah.
But
That's what they are, yes.
They have groups all over the place. They have chapters in the United Kingdom, Ireland, the Netherlands, Belgium, France, Denmark, Germany, Israel, all over. In fact, if you don't believe me, look up Circa, C-I-R-C-A, or the Clandestine Insurgent Rebel Clown Army, and you'll find them everywhere.
Now I'm a little paranoid.
As you should be, because according to TikTok, the killer clowns are back, and I'm going to be watching for sightings, and hopefully we will bring you more clown news on future episodes of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show.
Are they from outer space?
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
But that was clown news.
Yay!
Yay, clown news.
Yay, clown news.
Well, this has been a really fun episode.
Yes, it has.
Fun talking to
really,
you about.
It really needed to happen. I mean, we're getting into the season, and it really was a nice little kickoff for it.
It really was. But this has been really a lot of fun doing this with you. And we're going to be back next week with Daniel Kraus talking about zombies from his new book about the living dead.
I'm actually reading, like I was mentioning earlier, Blood Sugar, because we're getting into Halloween. It's a Halloween book.
Oh.
By Daniel Kraus. And I'm reading it, and I'm telling you right now, he actually inputs one of the most unique and unusual voice narratives that I've ever read in a book in my entire life. And I'm endorsing it. That's what I'm doing right now. Because I really I'm halfway through it and I'm loving it. I'm going to say right now, disclaimer, it's not for everyone. Yeah. His voice is so unique in this. It's told from the perspective of a kid. And this kid talks in such a way, he doesn't curse, so every curse word he uses is a different word it's used for. So it takes a little getting used to for this stuff. Right on the back of the book, it says it's probably one of the most unique voices is written in since Clockwork Orange.
I was going to say, it sounds like Clockwork Orange.
I mean, it's not the same, but he creates his own voice with it, and it's really amazing. And it's about this person who wants to, I'm not going to do any spoilers, but it's about this person who wants to poison Halloween candy and get back at society because he feels he's been wronged. And he has these friends that are the accomplices, and he has these friends that are accomplices, and they get this candy, and it's an interesting read. I don't want to say too much more, but it's an interesting read. Yeah,
we'll have links up for that at the website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com, where you can check out a page for every previous episode, our new archive of cleaned up ghost stories with audio elements, plus recipes, articles, and things like that, and Daniel Kraus will be on the next episode of the show, episode 148, as we celebrate Halloween. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then we'll be talking to Lisa Morton, president of the Horror Writers Association. We'll have Dacre Stoker on, and hopefully a couple more surprises that I'll be working on. But we're going to end tonight's episode with a short story from our lovely and talented Nancy Kilpatrick. This is a story that she wrote about the Day of the Dead, the Mexican Day of the Dead, the Día de Muertos. And that's what she calls it. It's called Memories of El Día de los Muertos. And it's actually about death, watching people alive, loving and enjoying life, and waiting to pounce on them, and celebrating his special day. Read by our beloved English folk singer David Walton.
Wonderful.
So that's how we'll end the show. But this has been a great episode. Phil, it's been a lot of fun, and I got to say, I'm really into the Halloween spirit now.
I'm going to get those decorations up soon, and I'm starting to watch a lot of horror movies now.
We end episode 147 with David Walton reading Memories of El Día de Muertos by Nancy Kilpatrick. This is T. Fox Dunham.
And this is Phil Thomas.
Memories of El Día de los Muertos, a fictional short story by horror author Nancy Kilpatrick, read by David Walton. You call me Deathbringer, as though ancient words can wound me. When I was mortal, as you are still, that name filled me with loathing. Now, because I live forever, because I have seen your grandparents rot, and will watch Los Gusanos devour your children, your words fade like the ghosts of memories. This eve of the Day of the Dead, my day, although you do not yet realize there are many ways to be dead. I watch you enter the El Cementerio just after sunset. The crude wooden crosses, as well as those of fine marble, are draped with fragrant bougainvillea and gardenia, and you add your flowers to the stones you stop beside. I see your wife spread a colourful blanket over the graves of your ancestors and open jars and boxes for the long night of sharing, a night when the dead will consume the spirit of the food you offer, food you expect to devour. Your son and 2 daughters pulse with life, life I no longer possess. They skip along the dusty paths eating sugar skulls and clutching papier-mâché skeletons until the sky blackens and the few fires scattered throughout the graveyard become the only light under a moonless sky. The children fall silent and huddle near you, fearful, expectant. You tell them a story of how the dead on this day return to converse with the living, to fulfill promises and offer guidance, to bring good fortune. As you strum your guitar and sing a song, your eyes are sad and fearful. Years have passed since you have visited the dead. Few still come here to spend the night. By the flickering embers you stare at the worn oval photograph of your mother and imagine her returning. You want this, yet fear it. To speak with her again, to feel her bless you and the ones you love. Your son and daughters have fallen asleep. Your wife is drowsy. She leans back and closes her eyes, her long black hair and the crucifix she wears falling away from her throat. You are alone. Outside the cemetery walls, the mariachi band has stopped playing. A cool wind caresses you, blowing hair up the back of your head, exposing your neck. You shiver. I laugh. And you turn abruptly at the sound. Familiar. Alien. Darkness presses in on you, and the dead beneath you struggle to call a warning, but their voices were silenced long ago by the worms. You look again to the picture of your mother, then to the sky, and cross yourself, sensing she can no longer help you. Something flies through the night air, beyond the illumination of the fire. A bat, you hope. Wings flap, and you listen as though to a voice. The tequila bottle is less than half full. You take another swallow, and I can see you are wondering how you will endure this night. Once, long ago, when your ancestors and I walked in daylight together, I sat where you sit now, honouring the dead, singing sad and joyous songs to them, telling their tales of grief and bitterness, and of how they loved, of how they lived and died. Memories stir in me like petals rustled by a breeze. At last you see me, a shadow among shadows. The guitar slips from your hands. I have come for you. Your eyes are red-rimmed with the knowledge. You plead. Your wife, you say, and your children. There are things you have not yet done. You beg me to spare you until morning, imagining I do not know my powers will wane with the sun. I laugh as tears spill down your weathered face. I am incapable of pity. When I reach out to stroke your cheek, to feel the warmth pushing against your flesh, salty wetness coats my dead fingers. Astonished, I remember. On a day of the dead such as this, when I sat where you sit now, my loved ones beside me, music floating on the cool breezes drifting down from the mountains, I too wept. My vulnerable tears betrayed me then, as yours betray you now. My tears did not save me. What warms your body will soon warm mine. I nod at the boy child, the youngest, a substitute. You decline, as I knew you must. I do not see this as heroism or bravery, simply what you would do. You turn to the picture of your mother. She will intercede, you think. You pray to her, to anyone. A small iguana springs onto the tombstone next to the melting candle you have placed there. He pauses to stare at you. He is a sign, you believe, good or ill. How can you be certain? I step into the firelight. Neither the dead nor the living can help you now. Why, you ask me? This question I have heard many times over the years, many times. It is a question for which there is no answer. Your life does not mean to me what it means to you. I feel no love or sympathy, no pity. I no longer understand remorse. All I can tell you is that I long for your hot blood to swirl through my cold body. Your eyes are the only reflection I am capable of seeing, and in them I find myself as I once was, but am no longer. This image cannot sway me. What I need, I must have. You suddenly understand a horror that all your life you have avoided. You find this incomprehensible. Dead exist to whom you mean nothing, and yet even you must know that blood is all that matters on this day when Los Muertos are honoured. Across the graveyard, another calls his ghosts, and I listen, intrigued by the bittersweet song. The night is long. There are many here with offerings, many. To one such as myself, all are equal. Before I turn away, I glimpse disbelief in your eyes. Gratitude. You cross yourself and fall on your knees before your mother, before me. I drift between the worn stones towards new warmth. You are a memory already fading, a memory that will die, a memory of the dead. Nancy Kilpatrick is an award-winning writer and editor. She has published 22 novels, 1 non-fiction book, over 220 short stories, and 6 collections of her short fiction, comic books, a graphic novel, and she has edited 15 anthologies. Her work has been translated into 8 languages. Nancy has been a 4-time Bram Stoker Award finalist, a 7-time Aurora Award finalist, a 2-time Paris Book Festival winner. She lives with her calico cat, FedEx, in lovely Montreal. When not writing, she travels planet Earth, the great curio cabinet, in search of cemeteries, ossuaries, catacombs, mummies, and Dawn's macabre artwork. Find out more about Nancy at her website https://nancykilpatrick.com.
That's intriguing and horrifying at the same time.
T. Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Books. A television series based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the Stargate anthology Points of Origin from MGM and Fandemonium Books. Fox is an active member of the Horror Writers Association, and he's had published hundreds of short stories and articles. His motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time. Find out more information at www.tfoxdunham.com.
Phil Thomas is an author and screenwriter from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His screenplays have been produced into 2 feature films, False Face and Always from Darkness, and are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon Prime on demand. His screenplay, 3 Tunnels, was a semi-finalist at the LA Screenplay Competition. He is a member of the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors, and he currently writes for Cultured Vultures, Game Skinny, and BloodyDisgusting.com. He formerly held the position of Senior Marketing Manager at Eternal Press, and was a journalist for Patch, where he wrote a daily tech column covering the latest electronics and gadgets. He lives in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and is currently working on his 2nd novel, Worst Afterlife Ever.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.